What I'm going to be doing now is walking through the second application exercise, which is an introduction to data visualization. And what we're going to use is a data set that was put together for this story about the dollars and cents case against Hollywood's exclusion of women. And it's going to be using something called a Bechdel test, which you can read more information about in this story. So what we're going to do in order to get started with our analysis is that we're going to load some packages. And this is something that you'll want to do probably almost every time that you start an analysis very early in the analysis. So as you probably remember, these gray rectangles represent code chunks, and the stuff that's out in the white represents what is what is a narrative or the story around the data that we're telling. So what we'll want to do is to load up the tidyverse package, which is going to be what we use for most of our analysis, and the scales package, which is going to allow us for making prettier plot labels. So if you click on that little run button, you can get immediate feedback on what's happening. So we see this messages that come out of these loading packages. What this does, it looks kind of scary, but what it means is that the dplyr from the tidyverse, its function called filter, takes priority over the filter function in the package called stats. So this is not a problem for us, but you might want to be aware of this if you're working with, for instance, both the dplyr and the stats package in one case. Next common step in an analysis is bringing in some data. And we're going to be bringing in something called a comma separated values file, which is a file where the fields in the data file are separated by commas. It's a very common data format to use and a very good one because it's human readable. So uh, if you're using something like Excel, which uses a proprietary storage format for its XLSX files, you can export the data as CSV, which will mean that it'll be able to be read by some spreadsheet programs that existed in the past or other programs that exist in the future. So this is a very good way to store data. We've got another label associated with this one, read data. Again, good practice and no space between words. And we read it into the data object Bechdel by using the assignment operator, which is an arrow pointing in the direction of Bechdel, using the read underscore CSV function, which is product of the tidyverse, and the name of the directory the data are in, plus the data file name itself. For those of you who are working on Windows machines and are familiar with the command prompt, you'll see that this slash is going the other direction of the way that you would normally do it in Windows, but this is the way the slash is written in Linux and Macintosh and R. So it's reading things in from the folder or directory called data, and the thing it's reading in is a file called bechdel.csv. So let's read the data in. So the data are in. We can start taking a look at how what the data look like. A good function to use is something called glimpse. Again, it's from the tidyverse, and we can do that by writing the glimpse function and then typing in the name of the object, the data frame, the tibble, and it shows us all of the columns in the data frame, the tibble, and some of the data. So this has something called title, year, gross in 2013, budget in 2013, return on the investment, whether or not it's passed the Bechdel test, and some other things that we will explore a little bit later. So this is one way of doing it. I want you to get used to the idea of writing pipelines in your code. So the way we can do that is we can say, take the data frame Bechdel, send it to the function called glimpse, and we can run it that way. So this does the same thing. What it does is takes the output of this, which is just the data frame itself, and puts it in the first argument of this glimpse function, which gives us an idea of what we want to do. There's another older way of writing the pipe operator that you may run into. This should work. So this version of the pipe operator was what was used before this pipe operator became part of the base R package. So if you're using R 4.1 or later, this is the operator you'll want to use. If you're using an earlier version, you'll want to load up the tidyverse to get that other pipe operator in there. So the way you can read this that might make it helpful for you is take the Bechdel data frame, then glimpse it. Take a look at it. Okay, so now it's asking us, what does each observation in the data set represent? Well, this is just some words. Each observation represents a movie. So this is what that was asking us to do there. And it was looks like I've forgotten, I put the answer in there. But what we want to do here is start by typing some code, which is done by the backtick, which is on my keyboard. It's right below the S key on the top left of the keyboard. Type in brace R brace, and then do nrow Bechdel, close parentheses backtick, and it's highlighted that as code. This is not going to show anything if we just run this, so I'm going to render the document this time. So you can see that it has substituted the number 1615 for what was there before. So it's taken this from that Bechdel data set. And we'll do something similar here. And I believe the function is just ncall, so backtick R, ncall, Bechdel, close parenthesis, backtick, and let's render that again. and it's returned the number uh, 7, representing the number of columns. We see it here, and we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a very good idea to use the inline code to pull numbers out of your data set or analysis. It it helps ensure that your analysis will be consistent with the data set that you've got as you move along. Okay, so this is just some statement about the variables that we're going to be focusing on. You can see that this stuff is highlighted in gray, but it doesn't have that R in front of it. So all this is doing is formatting these things as if they were code. So if we look back at the rendered version, we can see that these things are highlighted in purple and using a highlighted in purple, which is what we're using to represent things that are relate to code. So variable names and variable values. Now, this is what we're looking at. Uh, the level of the Bechdel test results and some of the other things. Okay, we're going to use ggplot2 to create our graphics. And again, we start by opening up with the a label and something that's just telling us to plot the Bechdel data. And all that does is gives us a blank screen, so sort of the canvas that we're going to paint the graphics that we're creating on. So we want to start putting some things on that screen. And what we're going to do now is tell the ggplot uh, what we're going to put on our x-axis and what we're going to put on our x-axis and what we're going to put on our y-axis. And the way we start doing that is using a mapping related to the aesthetics. So this is saying that the x-axis becomes the variable budget 2013 and the variable gross 2013 is related to the y-axis on our plot. So we can give that a little run. So we start seeing labels related to values and axes labels related to the variables that we selected. What this is saying is that there's a shorthand way of writing this. So you don't have to say data equals Bechdel or mappings equal to AES. You can omit the names of these first two arguments. So you can see this written as this. Okay, so this should give us the same thing, and it does. Oh, one thing that you should note is that these numbers are written in R's version of scientific notation. What the what this means is 4 times 10 to the power of 8. So I guess that's $400 million. And uh, yeah, okay. What we're going to do now is start actually putting some data onto the axes. And the way we do that is with some things called geoms, so geometries. So what we're going to do is to plot these as points. We're able to continue a line by using this plus sign. and we click on Go, and we say we see a warning. It says 15 rows contain missing values or values outside of the range. So what that means is 15 of our 1,615 movies is missing at least one of gross 2013 or budget 2013. And we can begin to see what the scatter plot for these data look like. So you can maybe see that there's some kind of relationship between the gross returns and the budget of the movies, but there's a whole lot of crowding going on in here. Okay, so this is asking you to uh, do some things. So what you want to do is to go here and change the color of the plots. Pick one that you like. You can use this as a reference. I'm doing it as deep sky blue. Same error message. If you find that warning annoys you, you can add another keyword to the code chunk and just say that warning is equal to false. So turn off the warnings. And if we run that, the warning should go away. And it did. Yay. Okay, so this is asking you to add some labels for the X and Y, title and X and Y axes. I'll let you do that. And I'll just turn off the warning again. And you can do that for the rest of the code chunks. I'm not going to bother. Okay. So you can see that it's going to put the title you select here, axis title here and here, and the plot title here. So what this is saying is that defining what aesthetics are, so it's a visual property, and we can change colors, fills, shapes, sizes, and transparency. So one of the things that you'll notice is we're going through here is that I have a tendency to spell the keywords using uh, Canadian spelling for things. So one of the interesting things about this software is it was written mostly by a fellow based in New Zealand, and he uses UK spelling a lot, and there's a lot of similarity between UK spelling and Canadian spelling. So you can spell things like color and maximize and other words either using American spelling or UK spelling. Meaningful title, result of the Bechdel test. So you can go go on. What I would like you to do is to make the size of the points based on return on investment. I'd like you to make the points transparent to level of 50% or the alpha. Uh, Play with facet wrap and look at making the X and Y scales more legible. So we'll do some of that here. This is something like you should have created in the last little bit. And what we want to do as far as making these prettier goes is to get rid of some of the scientific notation. One of the ways we could do that would be to scale each down by 1,000,000. So we could write budget in million $2013, and add something with the scale y continuous thing. So what this is saying is to give it a number label, which means it'll include commas between the thousand separators, and this is saying divide the number by 1,000,000. So we will do the same for the y scale. Cut and paste as your copy and paste as your friend, and we can run this and see what it looks like. So that's looking better. So let's render this and see what it'll look like as a post to final document. Okay, so I'm asking you to use facet grid to display the association between budget and gross for different combinations of clean, test, and binary. So then give some comment. And I'm asking you to play around a little bit and see how you can improve this plot. So you can add code there. So as part of the game, we're going to render, commit, and push. And we're going to take a look at return on investment now. I'm going to turn you loose for the first couple of things labeled return on investment. And what we can start to do is to explore this in a little bit more detail. When you create these box plots, you'll probably find that the movies with a huge return on investment really dominate the graphics here. So what you might want to do is to focus in a little bit on the area that contains the medians and the quartiles, so that the box plots are actually somewhat meaningful. So we can do that like this. You will have done something like this when you created your graphic up above. Um, we're giving a label to the color. And one of the things that you can see here, which might look a little bit odd, is that there's a \n. What that means is create a new line. And what we're asking ggplot to do here is to limit the y-axis between 0 and 18. And one of the nice things about that is when you run it, you can see that the the data are, you can actually see the quartiles with the box plots. If you were to interpret this, you might say that there's not a whole lot of difference between the return on investment between the different results of the Bechdel test. You might say that the ones that pass it actually perform slightly better, but for sure the ones that pass the Bechdel test perform no worse than the ones that don't. Okay, that's it for this.